Rob, that's nothing but revenge.
It sure is. I'm gonna lower my voice and talk the way he does and go around town fouling him up.
A father's house, a nation's memory, the lasting legacy of my 3 sons. It began as a simple story, a widowed father raising his 3 sons in a modest American household. But what my 3 sons became over its 12-year run was something far more enduring, a mirror held up to a changing nation, and a comforting constant during uncertain times. Premiering in 1960 and concluding in 1972, the show spanned the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, and the dawn of modern television. And yet, week after week, millions of Americans gathered in front of their sets not to watch spectacle, but to find solace in the gentle rhythms of family life. At the heart of the series was Fred MacMurray as Steve Douglas, the calm and principled father figure. Surrounding him were sons who grew, matured, and started families of their own, a journey that reflected not only fictional character arcs but also the real-time evolution of an entire generation. This series wasn't just about fatherhood. It was about loss, remarriage, brotherhood, loyalty, and the quiet heroism of everyday living. Few shows have captured the essence of American familial love the way my 3 sons did. But behind the laughter, the heartwarming storylines, and the iconic living room scenes, time has continued to pass. As with all classics, the actors who brought these characters to life are no longer with us. One by one, the stars of my 3 sons have said their farewells, not just to the screen, but to the millions of viewers who grew up with them. Their deaths weren't front-page news, they didn't spark trending hashtags. And yet, for those who remember their smiles, their quirks, and their presence every Thursday night, each passing feels personal. In this video, we'll take a look back, not just at the show, but at the lives behind the characters. Who were the people who made my 3 sons such an enduring television family? What became of them after the cameras stopped rolling? And how did their real-life stories unfold, sometimes in ways as poignant as the scripts they once read? We will remember the father, the uncles, the sons, and the women who came to define an era of American television. From Fred MacMurray's silent battle with illness, to Don Grady's musical pursuits, to the early departure of Meredith MacRae, each tale carries with it a trace of nostalgia, a hint of loss, and a deep appreciation for lives that quietly shaped a nation's cultural memory. This isn't just a tribute. It's a return to a simpler time, through the faces and fates of the stars who made my 3 sons more than just a show. It was a home. And now, we look back on those who once lived in it. Fred MacMurray, the quiet patriarch who carried America's heart. Fred MacMurray wasn't just the star of my 3 sons, he was its emotional anchor, its moral compass, and the reason many families tuned in week after week. As Steve Douglas, the calm and compassionate widower raising 3 boys on his own, MacMurray brought a quiet dignity to the role that resonated deeply with audiences. But few viewers knew that behind his composed on-screen presence was a man who rarely sought the spotlight and lived by a deeply personal code of modesty. Before my 3 sons, MacMurray had already built a successful career in Hollywood. He starred in Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity, 1944, playing against type as a morally compromised insurance salesman. His range was impressive. He could charm as a romantic lead or chill as a villain. But it was television, not film, that gave him a second life in the hearts of American families. Interestingly, MacMurray agreed to do my 3 sons under the condition that all his scenes be shot in bulk, months at a time, so he could spend the rest of the year with his real-life family. This unconventional approach meant that scenes were often filmed out of sequence, and the cast had to adapt. Yet it worked. His portrayal of Steve Douglas became iconic, a symbol of fatherly patience, wisdom, and integrity. In real life, Fred was known for being frugal, even after years of success. He disliked publicity, rarely gave interviews, and preferred quiet time on his ranch in California. He was a devoted husband and father, and his personal life was refreshingly devoid of scandal. However, his later years were marked by a long and difficult battle with leukemia, which he kept largely private. Fred MacMurray passed away in 1991 at the age of 83. The headlines were respectful but muted, fitting for a man who never sought attention. But for those who grew up watching My Three Sons, his death marked the loss of more than just an actor. It was the departure of a father figure who had, in many ways, felt like their own. William Frawley, the cranky uncle with a comedic soul. Long before William Frawley joined My Three Sons as Bub O'Casey, the gruff but lovable live-in uncle, he had already cemented his place in television history as Fred Mertz on I Love Lucy. With his unmistakable raspy voice, deadpan delivery, and perfect timing, Frawley was a natural scene stealer. When he stepped into the world of My Three Sons, he brought with him not only decades of experience, but also a unique comedic rhythm that added texture to the show's warm family dynamic. As Bub, Frawley wasn't your typical soft-hearted uncle. He was grumbling, set in his ways, often cantankerous, but underneath it all was genuine affection for the boys he helped raise. His chemistry with Fred MacMurray and the young cast gave the early seasons of the series a distinct flavor, balancing heartfelt moments with sharp-witted humor. Off-screen, however, Frawley was known as a complex and often difficult man. A lifelong bachelor, he had a reputation for being stubborn, sarcastic, and at times abrasive. He also battled alcoholism for much of his life, which affected his standing in Hollywood. Despite his talent, many producers were wary of hiring him. His role in My Three Sons was something of a late-career renaissance, and he took it seriously. But his tenure on the show was short-lived. In 1965, health issues began to interfere with his ability to perform, and he was quietly written out of the series. William Demarest, an old vaudeville friend of Frawley's, replaced him as Uncle Charlie. Frawley's final appearance aired shortly before his death. On March 3, 1966, William Frawley suffered a fatal heart attack while walking near his apartment on Hollywood Boulevard. He died at the age of 79. His death didn't make waves in a media-saturated way, but for fans of early American television, it marked the passing of one of its most iconic comedic voices. William Demarest, the veteran vaudevillian who brought heart to Uncle Charlie. When William Demarest stepped in to replace William Frawley as the new household caretaker on My Three Sons, many fans were skeptical. Bub O'Casey had been a beloved presence, but Demarest's Uncle Charlie quickly won over audiences with a charm all his own. Gruff, grumpy, and hilariously opinionated, Uncle Charlie may have barked orders in the kitchen, but beneath the tough exterior was a man of deep loyalty and unexpected tenderness. Demarest was no stranger to show business. Born in 1892, he had a long and storied career that stretched from vaudeville stages to Broadway, silent films to talkies, and eventually television. He appeared in more than 140 films, often playing comic sidekicks or blustery authority figures. His collaborations with director Preston Sturges, particularly in The Miracle of Morgan's Creek and The Great McGinty, made him a fixture of classic Hollywood. When he joined My Three Sons in 1965, he was already in his 70s. Yet his energy on screen never flagged. Uncle Charlie was a retired merchant seaman with strong opinions and a soft spot for his family. He bickered with the boys, offered unsolicited advice, and delivered some of the show's funniest and most heartfelt moments. Demarest's performance helped usher the show through its later seasons, providing continuity and a fresh dynamic after Frawley's departure. Off-camera, Demarest was known as a consummate professional. Despite his often crusty characters, he was respected and well-liked within the industry. He continued to act into the 1970s, finally retiring with a legacy few character actors could match. William Demarest passed away on December 28, 1983, at the age of 91. By then, he had outlived the golden age of Hollywood he helped define, but his performances, especially as Uncle Charlie, remained etched in the memories of generations who grew up watching him at the heart of America's favorite fictional family. Don Grady, the teen idol who wanted to be more than just a son. To many fans of My Three Sons, Don Grady was the golden boy, the charismatic middle son, Robbie Douglas, whose journey from high schooler to young husband and father played out over more than a decade on screen. With his clean-cut looks, musical talent, and boyish charm, Grady became a teenage heartthrob of the 1960s. But behind the fame was a restless artist who longed for more than sitcom stardom. Born Don Louis Grady in 1944, Grady was a showbiz kid from the start. He joined the Mickey Mouse Club in the late 1950s before landing the role of Robbie at just 16. As the series grew, so did Robbie's arc, from a goofy teen to a mature, married man raising triplets. Grady stayed with the show for 11 seasons, becoming a familiar face in millions of homes. Yet, acting was never his only passion. Don Grady was a gifted musician and composer. He played multiple instruments and, during his time on My Three Sons, was actively involved in music behind the scenes. He wrote scores, performed in bands, and even composed music for television, including The Phil Donahue Show. His desire to be taken seriously as a musician sometimes clashed with his image as a wholesome TV star. After leaving My Three Sons, Grady distanced himself from acting to focus fully on music. He recorded albums, performed live, and continued composing. While he never achieved the same level of public recognition as a musician, he considered it his true calling. In the late 2000s, Don Grady was diagnosed with cancer. He fought the illness privately, much like his on-screen father, Fred MacMurray, had before him. He passed away on June 27, 2012, at the age of 68. For fans who had watched him grow up on screen, his death felt like losing a family member. Don Grady wasn't just Robbie Douglas. He was the embodiment of a generation's youth, and a reminder of the bittersweet passing of time. Tim Considine, the eldest son who chose his own path. Before My Three Sons became a long-running family staple, it was Tim Considine's Mike Douglas who helped establish the show's emotional foundation. As the eldest of the three sons, Mike was the steady, intelligent, big brother figure, often caught between youthful mischief and adult responsibility. But while his on-screen role seemed destined for a long arc, Considine's real-life journey took a very different turn. Born in 1940 to a showbiz-savvy family, his father was a publisher, and his mother a theatrical agent, Tim Considine was no stranger to the entertainment world. Prior to My Three Sons, he had already gained fame through Disney's Spin and Marty series and The Hardy Boys. By the time he joined My Three Sons in 1960, he was a seasoned performer, bringing a mature, grounded presence to the show's first few seasons. Yet, just as Mike Douglas was maturing into adulthood, Tim Considine chose to walk away. After 5 seasons, he asked to be written out of the show so he could pursue his true interests: writing, directing, and photography. His exit was explained with Mike marrying and moving away, marking the first major cast change in the series. Off-screen, Considine flourished in quieter but no less creative ways. He became a respected automotive historian and author, contributing to publications and writing several books. He also built a reputation as a skilled photographer, capturing images from racetracks to political events. He rarely gave interviews and preferred a life away from the Hollywood spotlight. Tim Considine passed away on March 3, 2022, at the age of 81. His death may not have made headlines on every major news outlet, but for those who remembered the early seasons of My Three Sons, it marked the end of an era. He was the first son, the original big brother, and the first to choose a life beyond the camera. Meredith MacRae, the sunshine spirit gone too soon. When Meredith MacRae joined My Three Sons as Sally Ann, the bright and cheerful wife of Robbie Douglas, she brought a fresh energy to the later seasons of the series. With her radiant smile, effortless warmth, and natural charm, she became a favorite among viewers and added a new layer of family dynamics to the Douglas household. But behind that sunny television persona was a woman of substance, an actress, advocate, and survivor whose life was far more complex than the sitcom world she briefly inhabited. Born in 1944 to entertainment royalty, her father was singer Gordon MacRae and her mother actress Sheila MacRae, Meredith seemed destined for the spotlight. Yet she carved out her own identity, not only through acting but also through her sharp intellect and fierce independence. Before My Three Sons, she gained recognition for her role as Billy Jo on Petticoat Junction, where she stood out not just for her looks but for her comedic timing and grounded presence. On My Three Sons, she portrayed Sally as the ideal 1960s wife, supportive, kind, and ever optimistic. But unlike her character, Meredith refused to be typecast. After the show, she transitioned into hosting and journalism, becoming the anchor of mid-morning Los Angeles and producing award-winning segments that covered issues like domestic violence and women's health. Her advocacy work reflected a deeply personal sense of purpose. In the late 1990s, Meredith was diagnosed with brain cancer. She fought bravely, continuing to speak publicly and raise awareness, even as her health declined. She passed away on July 14, 2000, at the age of just 56. Her death was a heartbreaking loss, not just to fans of classic television, but to the many lives she touched through her activism. Meredith MacRae was more than a sitcom star. She was a woman of grace, strength, and compassion. And though her time on My Three Sons was brief, her legacy endures far beyond those few seasons. Beverly Garland, the stepmother who redefined love on screen. When Beverly Garland joined My Three Sons in 1969 as Barbara Harper Douglas, the woman who would marry Steve Douglas and become the stepmother to his sons, she was stepping into a sensitive role. The introduction of a new maternal figure in a long-running show about a widowed father could have felt forced or unwelcome. But Garland's nuanced performance turned potential resistance into warm acceptance. Her Barbara was thoughtful, confident, and sincere, breathing new life into the series during its later years. Garland was no newcomer to challenging roles. Born in 1926, she was one of the first actresses in television to portray strong, independent women in male-dominated genres. In the 1950s, she made history with Decoy, the first police series to feature a female lead, in which she played a tough New York undercover cop. Her presence on screen was always marked by intelligence and quiet authority, whether in dramas, comedies, or B-movie cult classics. As Barbara Harper Douglas, Garland brought a modern femininity to My Three Sons. She was neither a caricature nor a replacement for the boy's late mother, she was her own person. The chemistry between her and Fred MacMurray felt natural, and her relationship with the boys was grounded in realism and empathy. She gave the series a second wind, and her character helped expand its themes of blended families and new beginnings. Off-screen, Beverly Garland was beloved in the industry for her generosity and kindness. She also became a successful businesswoman, running the Beverly Garland Hotel in North Hollywood, a place that welcomed actors, tourists, and even hosted reunions for classic TV shows. Garland passed away on December 5, 2008, at the age of 82, after a long battle with illness. Her death was quietly mourned by fans of Golden Age television, but her impact remains deeply felt. In My Three Sons, she played the woman who helped complete a broken family. In real life, she was a trailblazer whose legacy stretched far beyond any single role. As the final curtain falls on the lives of those who once gathered around the Douglas family kitchen table, we're left not just with memories of a television show, but with a living, breathing portrait of an era. My Three Sons wasn't just scripted entertainment. It was comfort. It was familiarity. It was the voice of Steve Douglas offering calm wisdom after a long day, the gentle bickering between brothers, the comedic timing of Uncle Charlie, and the arrival of new love through Sally and Barbara. Over the course of 12 years and more than 380 episodes, these characters became a part of America's cultural DNA. But even the most timeless stories are written by mortals. And one by one, the actors who shaped this fictional world took their final bows. Fred MacMurray's strength, Don Grady's music-filled heart, Tim Considine's quiet intellect, William Frawley and William Demarest's classic comedic edge, Meredith MacRae's vibrant spirit, and Beverly Garland's poised resilience. Each brought something irreplaceable. They were more than just actors reading lines. They were the emotional core of a generation's upbringing. What's remarkable about My Three Sons is how gracefully it evolved. It aged alongside its audience, mirroring the real changes families experienced in the 1960s and 70s. Remarriage, growing children, societal shifts. And now, as we look back through the lens of time, the show offers something even richer, nostalgia touched with reverence. A reminder that even when the actors are gone, the stories they help tell can still hold us, comfort us, and make us feel like family. In remembering the cast members who have passed on, we do more than mourn, we celebrate. We honor their contributions, their talent, and the quiet, enduring way they helped shape the golden age of television. As long as reruns play and memories linger, My Three Sons will never truly fade. It will live on in black and white, in laughter and music, in the hearts of those who still remember sitting down with their own families to watch one very special one on screen.